if I poured you a drink, would you sit down and talk with me? Lend me your ear and I'll bring you along. We can split the day rate 50-50. Oh, baby, I get by. Oh, and all I need is somebody, yeah. Oh, I'm gonna get high. Oh, 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 oh. Baby, I need somebody. Oh, all I need is somebody. Oh, I'm gonna get high.
Welcome to the PRO EDU podcast. We talk and drink with your favorite artists. So grab yourself a cold sarsaparilla, take your pants off, kick back, and enjoy. I don't know about you, I take comfort in that.
All right, I think we are live again. Today I am joined with an amazing creative nature photographer, Saurabh. Thank you for joining us. We are huge fans of your work, and the stuff that you do is absolutely incredible.
No, it's a great pleasure having this conversation with you, especially on one of my favorite topics, which is, as you rightly mentioned, creative nature photography, Gary.
And I love how you put that. It's not just wildlife photographer, because you do such a wide range of animals and even fungus, and like your storytelling ability for all of this is quite amazing. So how did you get into this? Like, how did you get to where you're at?
So basically, I spent my childhood working for a non-governmental organization, which we call here NGO, which is like based in my own city where I live, which is Surat. It's a part of Gujarat states of India. And there I used to go to the nature, forest, waterfalls, rivers, everywhere, working for nature education and conservation activities. And during that time, I got an opportunity to see and observe some of the fantastic phenomena of nature. And then I thought that because that was the time I'm talking about 1998, 97. So it's 23, 24 years back. And I thought that whatever I am witnessing and I'm enjoying the visuals which are offered to me by Mother Nature, I wanted to bring it back to my friends and family. Said I wanted them to see some of the these visuals which are there where I am witnessing. So I thought, let me pick up a camera and capture them so that I can bring it back home to my parents and my family and friends. And that's how, before 23, 24 years, I started my journey as a wildlife and nature photographer. So I'm very thankful to that NGO, which we call Nature Club Surat, that gave me an opportunity to see and witness nature from the closest proximity which is possible for me when I was a young kid.
And is that NGO still around today?
Yeah, it is there. It is there. It's been actively working on a lot of different projects like vulture conservation projects, wetland conservation projects, and a lot of deer breeding centers and all. So the club is growing, and I'm still a part of that NGO, and I try to train kids, and now I'm taking young kids to the forest so that I can give them an opportunity to see the nature and feel and touch and feel I want to give them. So we are still working, we are still quite active in nature education and conservation programs.
I love that. Like, your subjects are in the coolest places in the world, and you basically get to be outside all day long and not in a studio. But I have to imagine that being a creative nature photographer is probably the hardest to make a living at. So how are you kind of sustaining your brand and your business as a nature photographer?
So Gary, basically I am a mechanical engineer, and I pursued this degree to become an engineer, and then I was working for one of the MNCs called Larsen and Toubro as a planning and execution engineer. But my heart was there in nature. I wanted to go back to the forest every single day. And that the nature itself is so inspiring. I mean, it is so powerful that made me leave my corporate job, and I became a full-time photographer. And that is why, and I started a parallel company. One is for commercial photography and one which is for wildlife and nature photography. So I'm always balancing these two companies. I pick up projects for wildlife, I pick up projects for commercials, and I balance my commercials. I just want to be there in nature. So I'm basically trying to balance. And you see, when you are an artist, I mean, most of the time we spend is always like struggling, surviving, and all. But I'm enjoying this process of being a full-time wildlife photographer. I mean, of course, it is tough, but that's my call. Something I really wanted to be. So I enjoy this struggle, the process of what I do as a wildlife and nature photographer.
Yeah, I honestly, that's a really common story that a photographer will, do commercial just to basically fund their, the whatever they want to do, their personal projects. It might be similar to commercial or it might be completely different. And it sounds like in your case it is completely different. Or is the commercial stuff you do kind of tied into nature?
See, I in nature, I try to fix some of the projects which can help me commercially, of course, and that made me lead some of the expeditions into the Himalayas, and especially for the most elusive cat, snow leopard. So I lead a couple of expeditions because basically I grew up visiting Himalayas a lot. It is far from my place where I live. I live in a coastal line and it is far. But from my childhood, I had this interest in tracking, mountaineering. So I learned mountaineering, and that made me doing some expeditions, especially in Himalayas. So all these expedition, they help me commercially, of course, but it is always, it is never enough. I mean, to earn your living. So it's okay, but it is sometimes helpful. It is not completely that I'm earning from there, but it is helpful.
Do you need someone to like come make hot cocoa for you as you are in the Himalayas? Because I make a really good hot cocoa and I'll carry your tripod.
I mean, I really wished someone to help me in this. I mean, and if you're good at that, I mean, I wouldn't mind. I mean, having you for that thing, of
That
course.
would be amazing. So how often do you get to, so you brought up the snow leopard, which I mean, there's
Yep.
not very much footage of or
Yeah.
photos of this, and when they come out, it's quite amazing. Have you
Correct.
had the opportunity to get one in your lens and capture one, or are you still on the hunt for one?
Oh, no, no. I mean, it's been now 4 or 5 years that I have been capturing snow leopards. I started, I had the first thought that I wanted to capture snow leopard was in 2016. And me and couple of my friends, we decided to go out in Himalayas because you have to go there into the extreme winters. Climate is the problem, and the altitude is another problem because oxygen level is hardly 50% of what we have here. So basically, 2016, for almost a month long expedition, we couldn't find the leopard. 2017, I tried, we couldn't find. 2018, I tried, we couldn't find. But luckily, in 2019 was a year where I get to see snow leopard in the most extreme part of Mother Nature in Spiti Valley. And what I get, I mean, I will never forget that experience because the temperature range is between minus 15 to minus 35, and altitude is almost above 15,000 feet from the sea level. Oxygen level is issue, so walking is it's another issue, and it's a snow desert. It's a Spiti Valley of Himalayas, and it's a snow desert of Himalayas. So when you get to see this most elusive cat on our planet, I mean, you forget all your struggle. You forget all the past years that you struggled to capture that one glimpse of that snow leopard. But that was the year that I get to see 20 sightings, I mean, and of four individual leopards.
Wow.
So that was a finest year for snow leopard, certainly.
So when you're waiting this long and you're in temperatures this extreme, like you have to really have solid gear. So what are you bringing with you? And have you ever had like any issues of like, cameras not working, or have you just been always too prepared?
See, generally, we are always try, and every expedition is a learning session. I mean, every expedition is learning. So we generally tend to be over prepared, but even that is not enough in these kind of climatic and altitude conditions. So batteries are certainly a problem, because that when the temperature range is -15 to -35, your batteries keeps on draining very fast. It is twice the faster it drains here at sea level. So that is, but probably the battery is not the problem. The problem is keeping the body warm in this temperature. Because if it is -15, people start talking, oh, the weather is good today. If it is -15,
Oh,
so real struggle is probably keeping yourself warm. And where I live, here the temperature range is +25 to +45. So for me, the difference of temperature is almost minus is 50 degrees. So that is the more challenging part. Camera, yes, it you stuck with your camera sometimes, especially when the temperature goes down, it is snowing, your tripods keeps on slipping from your hand, because you somehow walking, and you have to manage 600 millimeter telephoto lens. You have to have another separate body, another extra body with another telephoto lens to get the habitat shots. So you're walking with your payload, your water bottles, your food for the day, two camera bodies, two three lenses, and the tripod. It is always a big struggle, but I guess this is what we enjoy probably. I mean, because why do mountaineers go up on the mountains? Because they enjoy this process, this struggle. So I guess I enjoy this process. And when we get to see the glimpse of this beautiful wildlife of Himalayas, I mean, it feels like a bonus after all this struggle. So I mean, that's enjoyable. I mean, I wouldn't mind doing this again and again.
yeah. I remember, this reminds me, I had an interview with Art Wolf, who's a pretty big wildlife photographer, and he told the story on our podcast of him pushing a bear off of a cliff. Do you like, have you had some really close calls with certain animals where you're just like, oh, I barely made it out of there?
Uh, I mean, not with the big cats. I have never had a bad experiences with the big cats, but once I had a bad scorpion bite,
Oh, what's
and
that like?
oh, I mean, I cannot explain that pain in words. I mean, it was a big scorpion. I was bitten on the shoulder. So you really can't do much about it. I mean, you cannot have, I mean, I wanted to have like 10, 20 painkillers at a time to get rid of that pain from my shoulder. So that was the only problem I have ever had in my life, that one scorpion bite. Because we were sleeping on the forest floor, we were in the tent, and somehow that small scorpion get inside the tent, and I was bitten by the scorpion. But that pain, I mean, it gives me goosebumps even right now when I'm talking about that pain. So that was probably the only bad experience. But I am a kind of photographer that I am not always behind the big cats or the deadliest ones with the jaws and canines and fangs and all. I'm quite happy shooting even a wild flower on the forest floor, because probably that is also the part of nature, no? I mean, and a lot of people, when they go out in the forest, and if they don't get to see tiger, lions, leopards, cheetah and all, they often come out saying that there is nothing in the forest. And that is very sad part to listen, that there is nothing in the forest if they don't get to see the big ones, deadliest ones. So I'm always not behind these big ones and the deadliest ones. I'm happy shooting frogs, snakes, fungus, nails, butterflies, dragonflies, birds, and all. So, I mean, I hardly have bad experience, and I don't push my limits also, because I grew up thinking about conservation, thinking about nature education. So before I picked up a camera, I already knew that we need to respect the nature. So I don't push my limits, and that always keeps me safe. So that is probably only one, and that too probably it is the instinct of the spider, Scorpio. Otherwise, it was just a mistake. By mistake, it happened. But otherwise, I'm always safe, and that I'm lucky for that.
That's amazing. I love your approach to life in general. So you were showing me right before we got on, we were doing a test and of just like sharing your screen, and you were showing me some crazy pictures of fungus. So if you don't mind, I'd love to get into what exactly that was, because that wasn't the fungus that I was thinking of.
Yeah. So what happens is recently I went to Goa, and when you say Goa, it's about beach, party, having fun, chill out. So I'm always in touch with naturalists in different parts of the forest. So in India, in the southern part of India, near Goa, we have a mountain range called Western Ghats. It aligns the western coast of Indian southern part. And there I got to know that there are bracket fungus, and the sporing of bracket fungus is quite visible through naked eyes if we go at night. But you have to go there when it is extremely raining, because it needs that moisture. And Western Ghat rains are deadly. I mean, they are. I mean, the 100 inch in annum is the rainfall.
Oh, at a
So it is
time?
crazy rainfall. 100 inches
Ooh, and like one day?
rainfall during the peak monsoon.
Holy cow!
So if you want to go and see fungus pouring, I mean the prominent spores, you have to go during the peak monsoon. And that forest bed is full of snakes.
Oh,
It has got all the pit vipers, hump nose pit vipers, and all these snakes are there. But
any black mambas?
luckily, oh no, we don't have black mambas, but we have king cobras
Oh
in the
yeah.
same forest that
Ooh.
I'm talking about. So I don't. It's a nightmare seeing a king cobra middle of the night when you're shooting fungus and there is a king cobra. No, I don't want that.
My
Of course, I love to see king cobra, but not when I'm shooting fungus for sure.
yeah. Oh.
I mean, so this year, luckily, I got to know that I had an opportunity to visit Western Ghats during peak monsoon, and we first 2 days we planned. We went to the forest at night. So we used to start at 8 p.m. and used to work till 6 a.m. in the morning. So first 2 night we just planned the thing. We identified the areas where we can go and shoot these kind of fungus. We identified the fungus, and then on second and third day we actually planned the lightings and everything to shoot this fungus. Do you want me to share
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
screen?
So you brought
Yeah.
lighting with you, like strobes or
So yes,
flash?
yes. So we had torch lights, we had headlights, we had flashlights and everything in the bag. But then we understood that when the spore mix with the moisture and you put the light from opposite direction, it it reflects its lights like rainbows.
Yeah.
So spores are generally white or the gray, but when they leave the surface of the fungus, they catch the moisture. And when you use the light from the opposite direction, it looks like it almost looks like a macro aurora borealis that we get to see, like a northern
Oh
lights. I
yeah.
mean,
Oh, that's interesting. I like a macro aurora borealis.
oh, I mean, this that was crazy. So we got to see and captured fungus in different parts and different locations in the forest for almost 3 4 days. I mean, 3 4 nights probably. I would say. So should I share the
Yes. Yeah.
screen
Go ahead.
to?
Share your screen. It is loading. Yes. Holy cow. So those are
And
the
this is
spores. The spores are basically airborne and coming
oh
out.
yes, yes, absolutely right, absolutely right. And
And these
they
aren't
they
poisonous at all to breathe in.
no, not really, not this one. This was harmless, But even though these spores are harmless, we were trying to keep the precautions. I mean, of course, because it is really macro particles, and I don't think so. There are a lot of studies or experiments that people have done that what if it goes inside your lungs and all. So we were trying to keep all the precautions, but as we are shooting macro, you have to get close to this fungus. I mean,
Yeah.
so these are the shots that, and it dances. I mean, it goes like the smoke. All this colorful, they keeps changing the colors because so with the help of one of my friend and the naturalist, we use a white light, a white torch light from it was an against light condition. So I was not using the light from the direction where I was shooting, but it was against the fungus. And when fungus spores comes out, when they come out, they catches the moisture, and moisture gives you these rainbow colors.
Yeah, that is amazing. So what are you shooting next? Do you know like what your next 6 months, 12 months looks like?
Uh, Gary, India is, when it comes to biodiversity, India is crazy. So we have got Himalayas, we have got Thar Desert, we have got great runs of Kutch, big wetlands like 230 square kilometers, 250 square kilometers. We have rainforest like Western Ghats. We have a long coastal line. We have the central India, which is quite popular, of course, for tigers. We have east, northeast India with the triangle of Brahmaputra and Ganga river, which is like the highest rainfall which you can record in India is that part. So the biodiversity of India is crazy. And as soon as the winter approaches, I love to go to Himalayas. And this year, probably, I'm planning to go to the valley called Zanskar Valley. It is an ancient valley and part of ancient Tibet. It's a quite a remote valley of Himalayas. If you ever heard of Ladakh and Leh, which is a quite popular place in India in Himalayas, it is a parallel valley, Zanskar Valley, and I'm going to one of the most remote monasteries called Fukhtar Monastery. So I went there in summers, but I was amazed seeing the visuals in summer. So I want to see their winter part of that valley because all the rivers go frozen,
Oh
and
wow.
those rivers become the highway. People actually walk on those rivers and go from one village to another village, which they generally have to climb. Now they can walk with their sledge on the river and they go from one village to another
You could
village.
just sled down the whole river the whole way.
Exactly.
Oh,
It is like 100 kilometers, 200-kilometer rivers are frozen, completely
you can
frozen.
sled for 200 kilometers? Sign me up.
Yes, yes, yes,
Michael,
yes.
we're going to the
Oh,
Himalayas. So when
and
you
people
said,
call it chadar track. Chadar means the bed sheet.
all right,
So it becomes a bed sheet of rivers.
yeah,
And
and
people track.
when you said a remote monastery, a monastery, what do you mean by that? Like, what is there? Is that religious? Like, what's the monastery?
So in Himalayas, it is a Tibetan culture. This part of Himalaya is quite influenced by Tibet, and all these villages are between 10,000 to 14,500 altitude, which is quite extreme. And the winter temperature goes up to minus 50 degrees in these villages.
Holy, holy,
And these villages, we have got the highest motorable roads in this region on our planet, which is 20,000 feet.
holy cow!
And 28,000 feet is the Mount Everest. So we have roads up to 20,000 feet to connect these villages. And the population per village is like 10, 15, 20, 30 sometimes max. So these monasteries are there to support nearby villages So they send their kids to these monasteries because in the villages are really small. They cannot have like schools and everything there. So they send their kids to this monastery, so they are taken care, their education is taken care, their health and their overall development is taken care. So monasteries are of course their place for worship, they are holy places, but basically this system is established to support these children so that they can educate, they can learn, and they can develop as like a good civilians like that.
This sounds amazing. And at 20,000 feet, are they living at 20,000 feet, or is that just the road? Is that the peak?
No, at 20,000 feet there's just a road.
Okay.
But the highest village on our planet is in this part of Ladakh, Himalayas, which is 14,700 feet. There is a village. There's a village called Comic. It is the highest village of our planet.
Man, I bet when they come down to altitude, they can just run forever. Just like, oh,
Yeah, I mean,
this is great.
they can really. The lungs are really big. The torso is long and the legs are short. The lungs are really big. Where we struggle, they play cricket there. When we struggle walking 10, 15 steps, you can see them playing cricket on frozen places. I mean, I don't know
Yeah, I bet.
how it is possible.
That's incredible. That's incredible. I want to go through your Instagram if that's okay, and kind of go
Oh,
through
absolutely.
your last few photos. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right. So I've been starting with everyone on their first photo and just kind of getting the story here. So looks like you ride bikes. Where's this at?
Yeah. Yes. So basically, whenever I like to go to these places, bike rides are cheaper here.
Yep.
And if I hire a big car with a driver, with everything, it becomes a little expensive. So going bike to these places is cheaper. So I generally go because and some of these places you really can't go by four-wheeler. It's really difficult. So bike becomes an easy and cheap way of transportation.
Man, and a lot colder. Holy,
Oh yes,
you must have a
it
good
is cool.
jacket.
Yeah, of course. I have to.
All right, man, this looks awesome. All right, this is cool. How did you get the deer to stand there for that long?
So, so it is called blue bull. It is a Nilgai, and the name of this animal is blue bull. And what happened was I set up a hide. I was sitting in a hide, camouflage hide.
Yeah.
So I went to the grasslands of Velavadar. So what did I do? What I did was I kept a hide left alone in the grassland for a couple of days. So these blue bulls and deers, they get used to with that place, the hide, which almost looks like a part of the forest. It's quite camouflaged. And after 2, 3 days, I got inside the hide with my camera and flash. And I started shooting the star trail. So I was shooting 30-second exposure one after another. When I found a movement near my tent, near my hide, when I understood that the animal is really close to me, during one of that 30-second shot, I fired the flash. So in one of the shots, the Nilgai comes in the picture with the stars. And then all those 4, 5, 600 images, I stacked them together.
Oh, okay. All right.
So when I stacked like a star trail, it stacks all the bright pixels together.
Yeah. Okay. And what software are you using to stack these images?
This was stacked in Photoshop itself. It was taken in 2012.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. I mean, we've come a long way since 2012 Photoshop.
Oh yes, yes, yes. This is still going crazy. I mean, crazy.
All right. So how do you feel about the generative AI? Have you played around with the new Photoshop and what it does?
Uh, Honestly, Gary, I'm quite. I mean, I have some questions about this AI stuff. I mean, because as I told you before, I enjoy the process and not the results.
Yeah, right.
Probably people have started enjoying the likes and comments and sharing and resharing and all those stuff, but I enjoy the process. So if I don't get what I want, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I still enjoyed my process of making that image.
Yep.
I don't mind if I get less likes or less views. It's all piece and parcels of we live how we live as an artist. So I'm okay with that probably. So AI tool is taking away the charm of waiting for a couple of hours to get that one good shot. Waiting. I mean, imagine if I get a snow leopard, I can change the background of mountains. I can put the rivers there and all. I would. I don't want AI to do that. I want to do it myself. I
Yeah.
want to wait to that mountain range, let it be for months. I want to capture that. That would give me satisfaction. So for commercial photography, I don't mind. But for wildlife, I would still want to capture
Keep it honest.
which is
Yep.
there in nature.
Yep. Yeah, and this is more fungus. And it looks like you sell prints. So how
Yes.
how do you sell prints? What do you use to get your work out there?
So I'm just doing it through my Instagram only. So after, I mean, not very often, but I keep posting that yes, I do sell my fine art prints. So I get it done archival prints and send it to the clients if they want. So if I keep saying that okay, I'm selling the prints, sometimes they don't want to buy exactly what I am putting it on Instagram, but at least they know that I have work which is sellable, which is
Yeah.
a fine art print. So sometimes they don't want exactly what I'm putting there, but they come up with a query that architects and interior designers, they come up with a query that we are building this kind of house, this is our interior, do you have something for this wall? And then I send them couple of images. If they find fit for their wall, they buy it from me.
Yeah. I
But
love
it's
this.
not a great, in India it is not I mean it's not a great business deals. Like selling a print is not that great, I mean, but I still yearly I sell up to 35-40 prints a year.
Nice. And it looks like you're mirroring. So is this
Ah,
four
yes.
images? And it's creating such a
There
crazy
was
cool.
one image mirrored twice. So
Yeah.
once first I mirrored like this, and then I mirrored like this. Once horizontally and then once vertically, because this was asked by my client because they wanted this symmetry of the fungus. So I sent them the single image of the fungus, and they said no, we want some symmetry because that suits their taste. So I just mirrored the images upside down.
It almost looks like an animal, like with the
Ah,
eyes
it
right
almost,
there and the
almost.
nose.
Yeah.
It's trippy.
If you want to see how fungus behaves, you can go and check the reels. And there's a video of fungus sporing.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, here it is.
That's
You can,
yeah, that's man, that is so cool.
yeah, it is.
It's
You can
almost
turn on
like
the
what
music
I
if
see
you
after
want.
taking fungus.
Yeah. See, this is why I was saying no, Aurora Borealis. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Yep. So and it looks like is this the crew that you go out with? Oh, and this is the,
yeah,
the river.
frozen river.
Oh my gosh, this is so cool.
So this is how we go to the Himalayas during peak winters.
What is this? Is this like a
So,
dinner?
so he was my guide, and he found a dead golden eagle. So these guys were basically nomads. They were. I mean, of course, now they have. I mean, they are in touch with the world. But whatever they find in the forest, they always pick up. They use feathers, nails, beak, everything, everything. Nothing in this nature which is useless for them. So they always pick up whatever they find useful.
I think more people should be doing that.
Ah, absolutely, absolutely. In cities, we can only talk about sustainable living, but no. They are actually doing sustainable living, practicing sustainable living. We can't actually.
This looks super poisonous. How fast am I going to die if I get bit by this?
So this is called a bamboo pit viper. So bamboo is generally of green color. Greens and yellows are the colors of bamboo. So that is why it is called bamboo pit viper. Pit because of the nose pits. Viper says red signal. So luckily this pit viper, it looks deadly, but luckily this is semi venomous. So it doesn't kill you, but it can damage the organs in your body.
Well, that doesn't sound
So it
good.
is not fatal, but it can damage you really bad.
That almost sounds worse.
It is.
Have you
It
ever
is
been
worse.
bitten by a snake?
I have been bitten by the snake, but all of them were non-venomous snakes because I always keep a safe distance when they are venomous. I mean,
Whoa. So that's a snake, but that's a
this
frog.
is a cat snake. That was a cat snake.
Cat snake. All right. Is that because they eat cats?
No, because of the eyes. It's a
Yeah,
nocturnal snake.
they do look like they have cat eyes. Look at them bulging out.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
they are the popped up eyes.
So I saw in your profile that you're a Zeiss ambassador, which is some of my favorite lenses.
Oh
Do you
yes, yes,
do you
yes.
shoot? Is everything Zeiss? But I also saw that you're a Canon ambassador. So
No.
how do you? What's your lens selection like?
So basically, I am a Canon mentor. So Canon Brand Ambassador program has a mentorship program. So in under Canon Brand Ambassador program, I am a maestro of Canon. So I can officially teach photography on behalf of Canon, like that you can say. So I'm a Canon maestro, and I am Zeiss brand ambassador especially for the binoculars.
Love that. What's your favorite
So
Zeiss
what I'm
lens?
yeah yeah. So what I'm shooting photography is Canon bodies and Canon lenses. And for binoculars, I'm a big fan of Zeiss binoculars.
Okay.
So I'm using Zeiss for that. Yeah.
Oh, nice. So how far are your binoculars? How far are you zooming in?
So I use 10 into 50, 10 into 50
Okay.
binoculars. So 10x magnification, and that 10x magnification goes zoom up to 50 mm. So it is almost like a 500 millimeter, you can
Wow.
say, compatible to 500 millimeter lens.
Whoa. This is so cool.
Yeah.
So what are these?
So I call this floating poetries. So basically, in southern part of India, there is one river called River Kali. River Kali means it's a black river. Basically, it reflects very less amount of light from the surface of the river. So it is called River Kali because Kali means black. So because it doesn't reflect much light from the surface, it is called River Black. In Hindi, it is Kali. And these are the flowers which are falling from the forest. So basically, it is a part of pollination process. So these flowers keeps on falling on this river and keeps flowing along with the flow. So it's basically a pollination process. These are the flowers on the riverbed.
They almost look like little octopus.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh man. What is this? Looks like a flying penguin.
No, but this is a duck. It is called ruddy shelduck. So they spend their summers in Himalayas, and during winters they come to the southern part on the central part of the India. They are ruddy shelducks.
Those are beautiful, man. I mean, there's so much on your Instagram of things that I've just never even heard of, like this thing.
This is a snowcock.
Yep, my favorite, the Tibetan snowcock. Is this thing
Yes.
aggressive?
Oh no, not really, because they are very shy. Because this part of Himalayas, there have been, I mean, a lot of people were hunting these birds. So they are generally difficult birds, but because a lot of people were hunting them, they have become very shy now, and
Oh,
they're very rare also in this part of Himalayas.
oh man, they look kind of like little turkeys.
They're big in size.
So have you? The hippopotamus is a pretty aggressive animal. Have you had a
Yeah.
run in with a hippopotamus?
No, I have shot them in Africa. Of course, this is from Tanzania and Kenya and all, but I didn't have a bad experience with hippo, luckily.
Yeah, those things are
I
crazy.
often talk about the habitat shots. So I always have a tendency to shoot from a distance, and then I go closer if they allow. So I took this picture. This is basically a car hanging soft toy made out of sheep wool. So that was the year I could not get the snow leopard, and I removed that car hanging, put it on the rock. It's a soft toy.
Nice. Yeah.
Put it on the rock, took the picture, and just posted that what if I did not get the real one?
Yeah.
But people don't read properly on Instagram nowadays. People started
What's
congratulating me on this.
yeah, no one's got time to read.
Yeah, and no one has got time to even see it properly that it's not the real one. This is the real one.
This is the real one? Oh wow.
Yeah.
So how far away are you here?
So I was roughly 140 meters, 50 meters away from this chap. This was a male snow leopard, and this was the sighting where this male snow leopard and we were both on the same side of the ridge. But it was extremely furious. It was very angry seeing us on the same ridge.
I bet. It's his ridge.
Yeah, I was his ridge.
Scaring away all the Tibetan snowcocks.
So it was that day it was angry, but otherwise.
What is this thing? This is the most adorable thing I have ever seen.
These are the owls.
Who?
They look very adorable, very small owl,
Wow.
smaller than your palm, but they
Oh,
are the killing machines.
they're killing me. What
They
are they killing if they're that small?
they eat small birds. They kill small birds.
They look like they do. This thing looks both
Very
adorable and very vicious at the same time.
very very. So I was sleeping in my tent, and I listened to the birds chirping and flying here and there, and I understood that there is some owl which is out there in the trees, and I found this guy.
Like, what do these sound like? Do they have like a hoot like normal owls? Are they like
Yeah, they're like normal owls, but
high pitched?
the other birds were chirping around it. They were chirping around because of this bird was there. The other small birds were chirping. They were giving alarming calls.
Yep. Long-eared owl. Wow.
Long-eared owl.
This looks like it is out of Harry Potter.
Absolutely. I love owls. I mean, I really love owls.
This is it. This is wild. So do they? Are they pretty friendly? Do they just observe you, or do they like
No, they're
kick
not
off?
friendly. They're not friendly. In
Not?
fact, this long-eared owl is very rare owl. And recently I found this owl in northeast part of India in Himalayan foothills. And this is probably the first or second record uh, of our naturalists who spotted this one. These are very rare. This long-eared owls are rare. Yeah.
Holy cow! And so this was only like the second reporting of this owl.
Not this one,
Oh,
but the naturalist who showed us this owl,
yeah.
he probably spotted this, and his sighting was first or second in India.
Holy cow!
Yeah.
There's another one. Is this?
And this is a short-eared owl.
Oh, is there a
That
medium
was long.
eared owl?
Short,
Is there just short and long?
no,
Or is there one in the middle?
no, there is no median eared owl.
There could be. We just don't know about it yet.
Because long-eared owl, you can find them in Himalayas, and this we find in deserted areas.
Definitely magical creatures. Any
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, elephants are also one of the coolest creatures ever, and it looks like you
Yes.
photographed them a lot. Do you have any cool elephant stories?
Uh, Elephants in India are quite dangerous, by the way.
Yep.
They get furious very, very easily. So, not me, but one of the gypsy vehicle. So, we were shooting uh, in Assam states of India, and there we were shooting some elephant herd on the left side of the road, and some gypsy drivers were showing tourists that there was the elephants on the other side of the road, and some of the elephant mother got furious and that started chasing the tourist gypsy. But we were just standing aside the road, so we were safe. But that was little furious. But elephants are very cool otherwise. Unless people cross the limit and get into their comfort zone, they
Yep.
become deadliest.
Oh, is this another one? Oh, look.
Yeah,
It's like
these
right
are
when he saw
this
you, he's
year.
like, I'm going to murder you. Get off my mountain.
So this is the cub, snow leopard cub.
That's probably not a good thing to see, right? If you see the cub and not the mom, you're like, uh oh.
Oh, that is the thing. I know. She can be around you, quite near to you.
She's right behind you.
So this is the cub. That was the adult one.
This is another
This
one.
chap was, yeah. This was another male leopard. We got to see. This is from 2023 February visit.
Wow.
This is an old chap. This, I mean, he's aged snow leopard.
Yeah, he looks like he's a little more relaxed than everyone else.
Yeah, because he's adult, he has seen the world.
He's
He
seen-
knows that he's a photographer. He's not going to get close to me. But you see how camouflage they can be with the background. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
and
I mean, they
that
blend
is
right in.
why, yeah, and that is why they are called the ghost cat of Himalaya.
Chilling.
Tanzania, 2020 visit.
Oh man, so beautiful.
I always try to capture the uh, along with the subject. I always make sure that if I get to see the beauty of the surrounding, the habitat, I love to capture that.
So, are you going to do a book? I mean,
So I have already published a book called Visual Poetries.
and is this available on Amazon? How do we buy this book?
Uh, it is available on my own website. It is saurabh.desai.photography.com.
Okay.
You can, yeah, people can order it from there. It is there on Amazon, but it was a self-published book. So now I am left with only uh, last 35-40 copies of the book because I published in 2019. So now I have very limited copies of that. So I am very carefully giving it to the people. I mean, because reprinting is going to be a big deal for me. But right now I am working on another book on Ladakh, which probably by next year it should be out. For that, I'll get a publisher for sure.
Yeah.
So that was my first book. Visual Poetry was about the fine art side of wildlife photography. Because I always have complained how people are seeing the word wild. When you say wild, people think it is about aggression and it is about violence. It is about fighting and all. But I mean, the butterfly is wild. I don't find it aggressive. So I guess the word wild is misunderstood by the people who are seeing or using it. I mean, butterfly is wild and I don't find it aggressive or violence, but we don't call it a wild. We say it is beautiful. But wildlife as a word, it is beautiful. If you see a mother and a cub together, it is about love, it is about softness, it is about tenderness. So wildlife is not just about violence and aggression. It is about all the emotions probably we can ever imagine, because ultimately, I mean, if I see a fungus pouring is wild, right? But it is not aggressive, it is not violence. So I guess we misunderstand and misconceive the word wild. So that is why I published that book called Visual Poetry. And it is not about big cats and big animals, but about something which is not often seen or probably ignored, but it is there. Yeah.
I love that. I am gonna definitely buy one of your books. So, are you gonna sign it if we order one?
Of course, why not? Would
Oh,
be my privilege sending you my copy, a signed copy of the book,
I might
for
get a
sure.
couple. Might get one for Andrew. He's looking at me like, "Get me one too." Oh,
Yeah,
yep, me too.
for sure. Two copies for sure.
Yeah.
Just send me your address. I'll dispatch it by tomorrow itself.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. One of the biggest questions that we get that I'm just going to ask everyone is, how do I start if I want to become, a wildlife photographer, creative nature photographer? Like, where do I start if I'm just like getting into photography and I'm, early in my career?
Absolutely a bang question, Gary. If somebody wants to be a wildlife photographer, my answer is to that is first fall in love with wildlife and nature, because it is a lot of struggle. So if you are in love with that nature and wildlife, that will become a biggest inspiration that make you keep going to wildlife photography again and again. So falling in love with nature, that is the first step. Then know about wildlife, because it is not something that, so if you want to become a street photographer, if you want to go out and shoot the street, you should know about what kind of people are there, how would they behave against a cameraman, what kind of culture they follow. So you have to keep those things in mind. So as a wildlife photographer, we need to know about, okay, what kind of habitat it is, what is the altitude, temperature, and all will be there. What kind of animals, if I would find, if I'm walking in the forest, what will be there on the forest floor. If I'm going out in the gypsy, what kind of animals are out there, what kind of trees are there. So knowledge about wildlife is the second step that you need to have. And the third step, at if you want to become a wildlife photographer, don't start immediately from going to the big mountains and going to the difficult places. You can start from your backyard. You can start shooting birds in the garden. There are squirrels, there are butterflies, there are birds coming to your garden. Start shooting from there. Practice there. Once you get a technical knowledge, once you know about birds, then try acquiring knowledge about your surrounding habitat. Start moving gradually. Do not be hasty. Once you find that, okay, now you can shoot your surrounding and all, find a place nearby your house, then keep challenging yourself every day and go gradually. Because I have seen a lot of people coming to the very difficult terrain of the wildlife and nature, and then they are struggling with climate, they are struggling with their health, they're struggling with the technical challenges, they're struggling with the creative challenges and all. So I request people to go gradually, one step at a time, rather than immediately, because wildlife photography looks very fascinating from the other part of the court. So I believe that it should be a gradual process. Fall in love, have knowledge, respect wildlife, pick up the camera, start observing your surrounding, and then one step at a time, like that. That's how people should start wildlife.
This feels like just good life advice. This is like way more than just how to become a photographer. This is just like how to live life. It feels like.
Yeah.
Well, I love it.
So
Thank you so much for taking the time. Any last thoughts or things that we didn't cover that you want to go over before we end this?
I mean, the last, just to conclude the whole session, I just want people to be very conscious about wildlife, because as a wildlife photographer, people should be conscious of what they are presenting to their viewers. It should be authentic, because nowadays, when we spoke about AI things, the things are now going in different directions. So, we should be conscious as a wildlife photographer when we are capturing it, and we should be responsible enough when we are sharing it, when we are presenting it to the world, that we are not floating out a wrong information to the world. And whatever we are sharing to our viewers should be authentic, and we should not disturb wildlife when we are out there and shooting wildlife. So probably this is the last thing that I would want to talk about, is a conservation part of wildlife photography. One, I remember once somebody asked me that, what is your role as a wildlife photographer? I said, my role as a wildlife photographer is I can make people fall in love with nature. And if you love something, you would probably be conscious and try to take care of it. So that's my role as a wildlife and nature photographer. I can make people fall in love with nature.
I
So
love that.
that's it.
I am going to have to get some prints from you for sure. So I will definitely be
Would be my
reaching out after
privilege.
this.
Would be
And
my privilege.
I really appreciate your time. What you do is an absolute dream, So thank you for doing what you do. And hopefully we can have you back on when your next book comes out.
Oh, absolutely fine. I mean, I would love to talk about that textbook. I mean, and also I would like to thank you, Gary, and the team of PRO EDU, who has given me an opportunity to share my ideas and views about what I do as a wildlife and nature photographer to a different part of the world, and probably the new set of people where I'm quite happy right now of talking to you. I mean, it's a bridge that you can connect people from one part of the world to the another. So you're
Yep.
doing a great job, and I would like to congratulate you for that also, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to have this conversation with you.
Of course, of course. And maybe hopefully we can one day make a course, or I can follow you around with a camera and we can make a
Oh,
more
yes, yes.
in-depth look. As long as we're not going where those vipers are at. I can deal with the scorpions and the long-eared owls, and the cold.
And even if you're coming to, you said, I remember you said that you want to visit India, right?
Yes,
Whenever you're coming here, I mean, we'll definitely meet and we'll go together to the forest. I mean,
it's going to happen in 2024. So I will definitely be reaching out.
so please be in touch with me for that.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much. And everyone, thank you so much for joining us. To watch more of these live podcasts, just go to learn.proedu.com, where we're going live every day, basically until late January, maybe forever, hopefully, because I love meeting people like this. So really appreciate it. And we will talk to you all soon.
This podcast is officially over. See you next time. Catch you a little later on down the trail, dude. Thanks for listening. I get out of here and start shooting.
I can remember very distinctly one of the very first classes. You had to take one roll of film and tell a story. And you got 4x6 prints made of them and you put them on the wall. I remember watching some of the people's images go up on the board and being like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? These people are so talented.
I was a DJ. I worked a lot at night. Sort of felt that itch to do something else. And after some soul searching, the only thing that I was excited about doing was taking pictures.
And I would Photoshop myself into other places. And a lot of times it never even went online. I didn't care because it wasn't for necessarily the world. It was because I wished I was anywhere other than where I was.
I suppose academically I failed everything, so I was left with very few choices.
I was cater waitering. I'd work till 11, 12 o'clock at night, retouch until 3 or 4 in the morning. Even though I didn't really have the talent, I'd be willing to work when other people would sleep.
And at times I look at my work and I think, damn, I'm a shitty photographer. Fuck, it's nothing.
You have this idea of what can be done because you're assisting, and you just can't create it.
So often today's artists, I think we get ideas and we end up sitting on them and we don't follow through. I think we can be our worst enemies.
I will talk myself out of a project before I even begin it because I think about all the things that might go wrong or could go wrong.
When you first start out with doing anything, you've got like 5 people, one of those is your mum following you, and it's difficult to get accurate feedback.
You have to be willing to be rejected by the artwork, by yourself, by your peers.
We get worried what our peers are going to think. We get worried what the talent is going to think or what the celebrity is going to think.
And for me, it was always like, I understand that, but I also understand that you have to be passionate enough to throw the excuses aside and just start the process.
First struggling, then assisting full-time for 3 years, then struggling some more, then retouching, freelancing, getting my first job.
But I'll lay in bed and something will just pop in my head and I just go, what if? Wouldn't it be interesting if?
Try it it didn't work, throw it out. Try it, it didn't work, throw it out. Try it, it works, it doesn't work, throw it out.
You know, you don't become a great photographer, you don't become a great painter, you don't become a great sculptor without having some downfalls and going in the wrong direction.
I allow myself to fail because I like to fail, because I like to grow. But you have to decide that you want it, because it's not easy to be great at anything.
Even though I'm not at the place I want to be, I'm still moving forward.
Nobody's going to love everything that we do. But I think you have to take a chance.